Good evening, everyone. We welcome you here tonight. Those of you that are here in person, those of you that are online. Hello, my colleagues. Tonight being Tuesday, January 18th, 2022, we want to call to order the special meeting of the South Euclid-Lyndhurst Board of Education work session. May we get a roll call, Mr. Hill?
Ms. Falkenberg? Ms. Jones?
Here.
Ms. King?
Here.
Ms. Lee?
Here.
Mrs. Ryan?
Mrs. Ryan and Mrs. Falkenberg should be joining us shortly. Thank you for that, Mr. Hill. We can go right into discussion items 2.1, House Bill 126. No, I'm sorry, we're gonna rearrange that. We're gonna go with 2.2 first, Dr. Reed.
Okay,
The RRR plan, you
Sounds
wanna go
good.
right into that?
yes, thank you. Well, good evening, everybody. Tonight is a work session, and would like to give an update to the school community with regards to our, what we call our RRR plan, which is our reopening, recovering, revitalization of our schools. What I'm going to do this evening is, this is what we call a working document, which means that it continues to change as we update things, and a little bit of a background. When we do have a district strategic plan that we did in 2018, when COVID hit in 2020, and some of the things that we've been dealing with almost for the last 2 years, it wasn't that our strategic plan wasn't relevant. What happened was there were a lot of things that became new that we had to deal with as a school district. There was funding that was going to be coming our way to support. So what we did was, really, this is an addendum to our Destination 2023. And so I'd like to, it has been submitted to the Ohio Department of Education. It supports, I'm going to go through down here just to give some background. This will be, it's down from the website because we're speaking about it tonight, and I just updated it today. It'll be back on our website as well. So we give a little definition here with regards to what reopening, recovery, and revitalization means. These things are highlighted in yellow because they are ones that the state of Ohio actually expects us, well, we had to submit it to the Ohio Department of Education. So this is our plan that we've submitted, and which brings us in compliance in these two areas. I'm gonna go through here a little bit. One of the things I want to bring out is the funding. So a lot of the things, if not almost all of the things we talk about this evening, is being funded through what we call ESSER, and I think that's important. So in spring of 2020, the U.S. Department of Education awarded funds to provide assistance to elementary and secondary schools through what they call the Elementary and Secondary Schools Emergency Relief. So you're going to see the word ESSER there. That's what it is. It is a amount of money given to school district in a finite time over probably, what, a 2-3 year period, 3-year period maybe. And so this is where it's important to know is where most of the funding source comes through. Also, another funding source that we have is what we call our title funds, which are federal funds. Those are non-general fund tax dollars. And then the third one here is we, in July of 2019, House Bill 166 also gave schools Ohio Student Wellness and Success Funds. That's something I mentioned last week at our regular board meeting, which we do use a lot for our student support services. You've heard the word youth development specialists, and so we utilize, we're really maximizing everything I'm speaking about is really non-general fund money in that. So let me go here. I think it's important for me to go over some definitions because, you know, in education, you know, we like to talk about a lot of things, but really if we want our public to understand what we're talking about, I think the definitions are important. You're going to hear the word about what common assessments are. I think the key thing to learn, I'm not going to read what it says there, but common assessments are not your standardized tests, but instead they are created by classroom teachers. And those are some of the things that this district will be working on. Let me jump down here. I think one of the things you heard about is RTI, which is your response to intervention. It is a research-based model that highlights how well students respond to instruction in the classroom. That's another key definition. Short cycle formative assessments. It is the process of gathering information about students' learning and making classroom adjustments in real time. So again, a lot of things that you see on the state report card and stuff like that is really not what I'm talking about here. It has to do with really allowing teachers to make decision in real time based on some common assessment and what we call short cycle, those short hit assessments, rather waiting to the end of the review type or end of course type assessment where it's too late to be able to change instruction. Last thing with the definitions, because again, it will make more sense to you if I go through these. A tier 1 instruction is really your core curriculum. And so your tier 1 instruction program is synonymous with the core curriculum. The philosophy we have here in SEL is we really need to make sure we are strengthening our core curriculum, because if you really, all students are getting that tier 1 instruction, then to a high degree and aligned with grade level expectations, then you're going to find that there may be less tier 2 instruction that has to happen, which is bridging the gap. And then also tier 3, which actually those students that have, the instruction is designed for those students that are having significant problems. So again, this will be on the website. It has been on the website. It'll be on the website again after we go through it this evening. The first part we talk about in our reopening plans with school operations. I'm not going to talk with regards to 1.1 and 1.2. I just want to, again, it would take us probably 3 hours to do this, so I'm just going to go down to highlight some things. So I do want, one of the things we talked about when we were able to use money is, we did pass a levy to install air conditioning in our buildings, but because of COVID and the importance of air quality and ventilation, we were able to use some of these ESSER funds, these federal dollars, to be able to do that. And Mr. Murphy, if you want to give a quick update on our phase 1.
Yeah. Adrian and Sunview, we're pretty much finished. We're just waiting for inspections, but it's all installed, ready to go. Actually, I was over at Sunview this morning turning on some heat from them, because they are heat pumps, so they're air conditioning and a little bit of heat. They don't go down too far, but so both Sunview and Adrian are complete. They're installed, and actually they started on Roland last week. They have a lot of things they can do without being in the middle of a classroom. A lot of electrical upgrades have to happen to the street, in the electrical rooms, and then obviously pipes that run up in the ceilings, down the hallways, things like that before we actually get into the classrooms. But some of the classroom work, when we get to that point, will be done during second shift as to not disrupt any of the education process.
So I actually think we are using these ESSER funds where it allowed us to kind of be ahead of schedule, right?
Right, the ESSER funds have allowed us to be a little bit ahead, especially with the air quality. Bipolar ionization is really what helps clear the air. So what it does is makes things, viruses very heavy, they fall to the ground type of thing. So that's really how it works, and we really utilized our ESSER money to purchase that. So every single classroom, every single office has that now installed at Adrian and Sunview so far. So the ESSER money has allowed us to take that money that we were going to have to purchase it with and go ahead and now use the levy money to move on to the next school.
And we'll continue to give you updates on that. I'm not going to speak about the Quick Med Clinic. All I can say that it is reopening. If you recall, before the holidays, due to lack of staffing, not on our part, but the Quick Med, had to shut it down. It is open back up from 9 to 5. Stay tuned on that. We are, again, looking to not just be for staff, but for our families, and it's going to probably take a work session in itself. Food service you're familiar with, nothing, we're going to go with the seamless summer again, but we'll give more information on that as we go. And thank you to the food service department and our bus drivers. We were able to offer breakfast and lunch to our families during our remote learning last week and that. So here's the heart of it. When we look at, I'm going to turn this over in a minute, we're really part of looking at the recovery and reopening and revitalization is really looking at our curriculum. And you could read 1.1, you talk about conducting a landscape analysis, just really looking at where our students were at with regards to the disruption in learning that's taken place, especially in 2020, and many of our students did remote learning during the 2021 school year too, and some were in school. So, again, all I want to tell you is our focus has been not on remediation, but the acceleration of learning. And that's a key point I want to bring out to everybody. So there are 3 initiatives that we've had, and I think, Dom or Ray, if you want to talk about, a little bit how these intertwine with each other, and I mean, and anything that you want to highlight. Some are taking off quicker than others, and that's by design. I mean, I guess we can only have so many initiatives, but if you want to speak to this, and then maybe really excited about 1.2, and maybe just go right into that, and I'll open it up when you're ready to show them how we're including our teaching staff as well in some of this.
So thanks, Dr. Reed. So for the Whetstone piece, your 3rd bullet down there, that's actually our coaching feedback that we talked about from our principals to our teachers. And what that allows us to do is have a database where teachers can receive the feedback, they have a quick conversation with their principal, and learn basically best practice and how to grow. And it's not an I gotcha. Actually, my team and I have gone to, we've been at all buildings but 2 so far, and we're going around and talking about these new initiatives with the teachers and explaining to them. And the Whetstone feedback, we set goals for the principals to get inside those classrooms, because that's a new push, right? They're just not day-to-day operations anymore, right? They need them to be true educational leaders. And my team is coaching the principals on how to be good coaches and on how to provide good feedback. 2 key pieces to these feedback, we use the words praise and pose. So when they go into a classroom, what's something good you're seeing? Because we got a lot of stuff good going on, right? So we want to make sure that we get that out there to the teachers as well. And then we pose a question, okay? To look at how we can expand on whatever they're doing, making sure that they're on grade level content standard, and does the assessment align with what we're teaching? And we can loop all those together, that's where we're trying to get to. And now that's leading into more of a conversation between the teacher and the principal. And that's the whole plan for these. So as we set goals with the principals, as I explained to the teachers, I was completely transparent with them at the staff meetings. They're under a lot of pressure because they're getting coached in the background that you don't see on how to give good feedback. And we want that pushback from the teachers. And believe me, when you tell a teacher that, hey, we didn't see you on the grade level standard, they're gonna come down, they're gonna push you because they take a lot of pride in what they do, right? And that's where that coaching piece comes in, and that's where we're really trying to get them to. And that Whetstone serves as our database for that. The ANET is a resource. The ANET is, again, going back to making sure that we're on grade level standard. And it's a simple tool for the teachers to be able to go, okay, I'm teaching this lesson. They can go click on ANET and see what that really looks like. And inside of ANET are also some different resources for them to use. The middle one, the Illuminate piece, that's going to be our data notebook for all students K-12. This is something that we've been missing and that we're really excited about. It is not taken off yet. We had a great meeting with Connect last week, and there were some things on the back end of loading our data warehouse and all of our students through Connect into this system that is going to be taken off, and also MT is going to be using that with the counselors as well. So as a kid comes, and Ms. Falkenberg, you'll appreciate this, so as a kid comes to you, you'll be able to track their scores from 4th grade, 3rd grade, all the way through. You can see progress, you can see deficiencies, you can see everything from referrals to different parent reaches out, all those type of things. So you can really look at a child holistically and see where this kid's come from, how we can make him grow, and you have basically your own snapshot before this kid even comes into your class.
So that's illuminating?
Yep,
Kind of the heart
yep, you got it. So, and then Dr. Reed, if you click on the resources tab up there right above the...
Right here?
Yep, and then Ray will talk a little bit about the priority focus of some of the things that we got going on.
So to piggyback on Mr. Capel, one of the first things when I talked to Dr. Reed and I was brought here to SEL was, she really focused on turning these leaders into instructional leaders. She's really focused on the magic happens in the classroom. She says it all the time. And in order for the magic to happen in the classroom, teachers have to have some support. And in order for them to have support, principals have to know what's going on in classrooms, and they have to understand what instructional practices are and what teachers are doing. So the first thing we really focused on was the leaders. We really thoughtfully put together some people for leaders on instructional leadership, knowing what good practices are, knowing how to talk with teachers, know how to coach teachers, know how to take feedback from teachers when things aren't going well, and principals need to understand that. So we really focused a lot on growing our leadership. And that's what, Mr. Capel talked about Audit and Whetstone, and those things kind of, hopefully they're beginning to click for a lot of people. It's a difficult, jump to go to, we're doing standards-based instruction tier 1, because, you know, we all know our kids need so many supports, but that core classroom has to be tier 1 on grade level, and then all the supports follow after that. You know, that's what our title is for, that's what iReady is for. So we really are working with teachers to use ANET, and it really is just a resource that they pull up and they look at what a standard is. And then it helps break down that standard, but the most important part about that resource is it shows the similar questions students are going to be asked. So instead of just relying on released tests, they can go on to ANET, which takes their information from Achieve the Core and very vetted sites like that, and it gives teachers a glimpse at how questions are asked. Because a lot of times there's a disconnect between what we teach and how we teach it, and then how we ask our kids questions. And that's where we have to get to in that tier 1 instruction. So those things kind of all go together, but we had to start with principals to understand that, so they can help work with teachers. Go ahead.
And so, including our assistant principals.
Yeah, them, yes, yeah.
Right.
I wrote them in too.
So does ANET have particular, you said, that shows teachers sometimes how to ask questions?
Sure.
So is that aligned with different curriculum?
It is ELA and math. It is aligned with ELA and math.
Okay.
Yeah, it is the two top ELA and math. And so what we do for like social studies and science teachers, because all teachers are responsible for teaching ELA, technically, they're all responsible for teaching reading and math. So we try to tell our social studies and science teachers, and elective teachers that, even though they're teaching a separate subject, kids still have to read. So you still have to do some reading strategies, you still have to know how to ask these questions in reading. And we're trying to work with teachers to push that, you know, in science and social studies, to really start doing that historical text, the documents, stop doing the pull the documents and let's scaffold our kids through, because that's what they're gonna see. So even though it's only reading and ELA, they can use that to supplement their reading and their reading pieces in science and social studies.
So is that ANET like a video?
It's a site.
So when they go in, is it videos speaking to them or?
So there's a lot of things on ANET. So when you click on ANET, there's a standards tab. So if I'm a teacher and I'm sitting with my colleagues and I'm teaching a standard in math, I always pick math and
You
I'm
don't
so
know
bad at
anything
math.
about
I don't know why. So they, if I'm teaching addition and subtraction, I can pull it up, I can see what the standard is or what I'm supposed to be teaching. I can click down and it breaks it down. It tells you what students should know, what they should be able to do. It shows them sample questions, like I said. It also goes in there and shows the vocabulary. It also shows them what the students should know before they got to that second grade and after. The other part about ANET that is so useful, and it's exciting because some of the teachers are really using it. I know Erica at Sunview is like embedded. There's also PD on there. They can click on videos and get PD on complex text. They can get videos. Erica's big thing at Sunview is juicy sentences, teaching our little ones how to write these really great sentences. You go on that site, so it's not only just the standards, there are resources of videos and PD. There are like meets that they can go on. Erica, I think, is best friends with the PD guy who gives it. She's always emailing him. There's also like teachers from other schools showing how they run TBTs or how they did this. So there's there's a lot of stuff on there. So it's a website.
It makes me think of kids, how like when kids can go on YouTube and kind of.
You're exactly right. That is exactly right. There's even documents, yeah. They'll even give links to, like, if I'm a teacher and I'm teaching, high school, I can click on Achieve the Core. It'll give me a link, and Achieve the Core will pull up on grade level content that I can use in my classroom.
How long have we been using this program?
Just this year.
Okay, so my question with that is,
Just now.
because no, it seems like, so you have some parents, and we come into parent-teacher conferences, and you're telling me, and you give us this data, you break everything down to us on paper, showing us where our child should be, where they started, where they came in at, where the what is the word I'm looking for? Benchmark. I'm so tired of hearing that word. Where their benchmark should be, based upon state testing, this is where they were. So with this ANET, my question is, can this be used for parent-teacher conferences? Because a lot of parents are more so visual.
Yeah. So
Opposed to just, because it seems like to me
Sure.
this is a very good tool to use, and can we use it in its full capacity?
So if you came in and I'm a teacher and I'm saying, you know, your child's here or whatever, and I want to show you what a question looks like at that grade level, or what the standard level, or what the student should be able to do, I can pull it up and I can just read it with you.
And you can show
And I
where
can
they
show
should be
that.
and kind of where your kid might be struggling.
So the nice thing about pairing that, what you were saying, you know, our I Ready, I think it's later on in there, but our I Ready that took the place of STAR. We just, yeah, so once we dove into that, so that'll be even nice for you, because it'll show you, like, if I'm a parent and I'm on there and I take my benchmark, it tells me where my student is, it tells me in a year where they should be, and then it also tells me where I should be, like, what's the stretch to get to that benchmark, right? So this paired with that, if you talk to a parent, it will give you a lot of information about your
just
student.
gave me an idea too,
Yeah.
and I know Ms. Leslie's not here, but I think, I'm a visual person as yourself, so I think, I mean, we could just really keep digging down. I think what I'd like to do is really, I mean, we could show some of these things sometimes for you folks, but I really would like to maybe, through what Ms. Lee just said, is really looking at some resources we have that our teachers are using, because really the flip side is also the parent being able to understand that too. So I do think that's not, we're learning it, but I think that actually is something that we can kind of review from the parent's eyes, how this can maybe make the connection as well.
Cause I'm
Yeah.
a slow parent, I will be honest, I'm honest to everybody all the time. I am that parent that I ask several questions, and I'm more hands-on, because to me, sometimes I am a visual learner, so it's easier for me, for a teacher, if my child's teacher literally uses this program and breaks it down and say, well, this Ms. Lee, it should be A, B, and C. And especially for me, I honestly have jumped to the end of the school year, so if you can tell me in this program where my child should be coming back into the school year, then hey, I know what to do in the summer during those other months, because you can give me reading all day, but what else can I offer, and what else can I do, and how can I help?
And you can print out the stars numbers, but that
Yeah.
doesn't really help
It
me
don't
when
help.
I'm looking at the stars.
Yeah, you can
paper.
tell me I'm at 2.8.4, but I'm supposed to be at whatever number. What the heck does that mean? You know, that's just the truth. And you know, we get so many parents, there are some that won't say anything for years. Years I sat in parent-teacher conferences too. Then finally Dr. Woodby was like, okay, Aaron, let's help you out. You know, so I don't know. So, you know, that was just something I thought about, and that made me excited.
The other thing about this is that with the resources that are connected, I think one thing that we have to get to, and we're working that our way with leaders and teachers, is seeing what a grade level exemplar looks like. So when I'm sitting down with a parent who's saying, what do you mean my student is not here? You can say, well, this is a typical grade level, so you know where to reach that. And so that's what we're trying to get to, especially in our TBT process. We're trying to get teachers to, like, actually write the exemplar. What do you want to see? What is on that grade level? And then when students turn their work in, then you can say, well, here's the exemplar. Here's where we are, and these are the next steps. So that's what we're trying to get to, and those are the resources for that.
Thank you.
And they're aligned with ODE.
It's aligned with Common Core, which ODE, so there's a few tweaks you have to make in certain grade levels, but the basic idea is that it is aligned with the shifts. It's aligned with complex text, academic vocabulary. It's aligned with the big thinking skills.
So again, one last thing before I move on, the other focus is really the role of the assistant principal. We always felt that they kind of got lost in the shuffle of just dealing with the day-to-day and discipline. So if we're growing leaders, it's just not our principals, but we are involving our assistant principals and really trying to build capacity. Go ahead, remember tier? I know, they get to use their brain. Tier 1, remember Tier 1 is universal. It's aligned with the general curriculum. So go ahead, Ray, are you taking this one too?
Sure, I can.
Or tell me when I'm done with this and we'll move on to something else.
That's what we're just talking about, the Tier 1, the making sure that, the other part on that, there's bite-sized actionable leverage, and that's what we're trying to talk to principals about when they go in to give feedback in that Tier 1. Don't go in there and go, you need to change all this. It's like those little things with teachers that, what can I do better to make it better? So that's what we're working on with principals and assistants. And speaking of that, when we're talking about instructional leadership, our team meets with each principal and each assistant, and we go through their feedback that they've been giving teachers and try to give them feedback on how to get better at that as well.
And what we're trying to get to, this will be the last thing we'll say on this, Dr. Reed, sorry, scroll up a little bit, no, you're good. Yep, there you go. So when we says determine instructional trends, that's what we're trying to get our principals now. Okay, you had a semester of going in the classrooms and coaching your teachers. So now it's second semester. So let's set a couple goals. How do we set those goals? Well, let's look at our trends that we're seeing in the classroom and what we need to get better at. And then from that feedback and from those coaches, because then when you're setting the goals and you're presenting them to the staff meeting, like I told the principals, it's not your feelings, it's not your assumptions, it's what we're seeing and what we're tracking, and those what your goals should be set on, so you guys improve on those. Once you hit those goals, then you set new ones as you're walking through in those whetstone feedback, and when you're gaining all of that, because you have that data. The teachers know where you're at, it's not a secret, right? If we can get on grade level and have those assessments, that's where we gotta get to. And what are we seeing, and that's how we set these goals for the second semester. And when you're giving that feedback to the teachers, again, to take that, you gave them the nice praise, and then in the post piece, link in that ANET piece. It says, hey, this is what the standard looks like. Do you think your lesson was like that? That's a pose question. And link it in there, and then they can see it.
And the one more thing I want to say about ANET that is helpful is what we see in the classroom too, is to making sure the work we're giving kids is on grade level. And when you click on ANET and you click on the resources that ANET has on there are vetted. They're vetted, these are high quality. So we're trying to steer away from things like teachers pay teachers all the time and things that we don't really are quite sure are on grade level. So that's another part of ANET's usefulness, is that we're really looking at what is vetted as high quality versus maybe watered down or not quite at that high quality, because our kids really need high quality instructional materials. And that's
Round
about
of
it.
applause to you.
Yeah, so.
Because you know how many teachers, I have so many, majority of my friends are teachers. So do you understand, that is like a real big issue for them, is going online and having to find their own stuff. And you know, then they'll do their PDP and they'll get their principal feedback, but then they still have difficulty because they're literally having to figure out their own resources. So we are honestly offering these resources to them. Y'all better get with the destination.
Well, and what I want to keep reminding
That's
everybody,
amazing.
again, this is a part of our plan, and there's a lot here, and you can keep digging down. And I think we'll probably have to come back to it another time. But I mean, you can click on these, and maybe when you read it now, it might have a little bit more meaning, and maybe even for the public. That's why we thought we'd go over this evening. Because really, this is an exciting piece too. When you look under 1.2, we have DLTs, our district leadership team, and we established a curriculum instruction task force. The reason I want to go over this, because I think what we're going to do probably next month is allow some of the folks that are on this task force to come in and talk about their work, and that's going to be kind of exciting. So we'd like to give you a little preview on that. And again, this is here, you know, we won't go over everything, but just give you an idea. Who's handling that one?
One thing that we found, like, I think I mentioned this at the last board meeting, you know, we're looking at resources, and I said high quality resources, making sure that what we're putting in front of our kids is top notch. And so we created this task force with teachers and administrators and some central office folks. And our plan is to really kind of vet those materials that we're spending money on. We've got money, but let's make sure whatever we're spending this money on aligns with our vision, aligns with high quality, and is sustainable. Because a lot of times we go for the quick hit, but it's not quite, you know, feasible to keep. So this committee, made up of these people, we meet, right now we're meeting every other month. Our first charge was to find a math curriculum, because we need to purchase one. So Tim Rosenbaum took the reins on that. So they have been working diligently, and I think they're doing a trial now with Envision, with one of the two. And then when we come back in February, we're really going to be looking at building choices, what buildings want to see, and vetting it through this committee, not to say that it's not good, but to say, hey, if something's good at Adrian, why isn't it good at Adrian, Sunview, you know, and Roland? Or maybe it's good for everybody, or maybe it's only good for K through 6. And so if we're going to spend our money, we want to know what we're spending our money on. So this committee, and this document right here is a working draft. We kind of went through a purpose and a process, but we are still learning the process. We're not quite sure about how that's going to work starting in February, because right now building BLTs are meeting, and they're going to be sending us what they want to purchase, and we're going to figure out how we roll through that process. But it's really exciting. That group is a really, that group, we showed them some data from the first diagnostic for iReady, and there were some data points on there that we just assumed, like, all our kids are this, but then we saw data and we're like, that's not true. So we had to look at the material in relation to the data. For example, there's a lot of people that say, oh, we're short on phonics. No, the data doesn't show that. It shows a lot of lacking on comprehension. So now when we purchase stuff, we need to purchase it with that in mind. So this committee will be doing that work.
And if you really look at, like I said, how this all massive, this is just one, this is our focus on curriculum and standards, okay? And so we're just hitting a few things here. I'm gonna actually move down a little bit. I think this is 2.2 is an important point to look at. When you look at developing a robust plan to support literacy, that is just so key. And what we've gotten here, we talk about what students are gonna do, teachers are gonna do, building leaders will do, district administration, I mean, really kind of putting it out there with that piece. And, let's, talk a little bit about, why we chose this and, what's the goal on this as well, so.
So, one of the first meetings of building leaders when we were talking, they were discussing how students struggle with reading, and that's usually not a big surprise. But with COVID and being out a year, they were really like nervous about, oh my gosh, where are we gonna go? So we decided to start with ELA, because everyone needs to read everywhere. And so what we started with was the shifts, and one of the shifts is complex text, and I think I talked about this before, but it's really putting that high quality, on grade level text for everybody. And the students who are struggling with that text then get the scaffolding, but eventually everybody has to see that complex text. Which is hard, because you feel bad when kids are struggling with that high quality complex text, but we've got to get them there. They have to be able to see it. They have to be able to recognize it. So we started with that shift and training everybody, science, social studies, everybody. If you're gonna put text in front of kids in social studies, it should be complex. It should be on grade level. So we started training everybody on this, and TBT is focusing on this, and there was a lot of talk about, why complex text? Well, the shift in complex text, it was from the Common Core saying, one of the reasons students all over struggle is because we don't expose them to high level text. So that was one of the reasons. It's not a thing, it's not like a strategy, it's just what we put in front of kids. So that's what we started with. And so the goal is for everybody to be able to recognize complex text and to use it and then learn how to scaffold to it. So that is our goal for our teachers and our leaders. We are shifting right now actually to math, because we saw some data in our math scores, and we really need to shift to math a little bit quicker than just next year. So we're starting in January right now. Our math curriculum team, who've been piloting and looking at the curriculum, will be starting math PD. So they're gonna choose a curriculum and get some professional development on the shifts in math, and really looking at rigor, making sure our kids are exposed to rigor in math. So that starts actually tomorrow.
Let's see, I am going to jump down, again, I'm not gonna go one by one, I picked out a few this time, and then we'll come back around, because it's so robust. I think you're looking at 2.4, technology to support Tier 1 instruction. Again, that Tier 1 instruction is the instruction that's universal, that everybody's, should get. I know that Mr. Capel has been working with the technology team. It's not, not about hardware. We're talking about a little bit about the software. Ryan Morton, any quick things you want to share on that?
Yeah, the big one, if you scroll down a little bit, Dr. Reed, is inside that iReady piece. Ryan has been tasked with being the leader of iReady and really looking at what the big shift we made. Yeah, you're good. The big shift we made with iReady was we originally had 500 license for individual, what's that called, individual? Pathways for each student. So we can really truly get down to the core of where the student at. Like she keeps talking about scaffolding them and getting them up to grade level. And what we ended up doing was through some negotiations, we were able to get pathways for every kid throughout the district. And what Ryan has been able to do is train the teachers and train the principals on how to properly use it, how to look at that data, and then at the same time with his ELA background, also how do you use it in the classroom. So Greenview, for example, every day, I think it's every day, they start their day on their pathway, okay, inside their classroom. So that kid logs onto that computer and they have their individualized iReady right in front of them, and they look at questions, they take questions, and more feedback comes back to them, and then the teachers are able to scaffold those lessons and really see and really try and build them up to grade level before D-Day, before testing comes in. Yeah.
One thing I think it helps, remember we start off that our focus is on accelerating learning and not retention. So it's not what kids can't do, is how do we put them on a learning pathway to accelerate. And so, we're not slowing kids down, but at the same time, we're also trying to move students along. So by the time they get to a certain point and decisions have to be made, retention is not something, hopefully, that we have to be able to do.
Oh, sorry, go
Yeah,
ahead.
no,
Sorry,
that's
Ms. Falkenberg.
So the iReady, that is, so each student has their own pathway, their own, okay. K through.
Nine.
Okay.
Yeah, yep.
And then, is that, does that cover ELA and math?
ELA math.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Both of those?
Yes,
Okay.
yep, absolutely.
And that's why we talk about why tier 1 on grade level is so important, because they're getting their tier 2, or actually tier 3, really on that pathway. So they're getting their scaffolding, but still staying on grade level work in their core classrooms.
And another thing Ryan's diving hard into is something called catch-on. And what that is it shoots us what are our most trendable sites, okay, that are being utilized. And the sites that get the most hits throughout the day, from teachers, from students, from everybody. And honestly, I was a little nervous being a former junior high principal, what we were gonna find, okay? But for the most part, it's been very eye-opening, and what we're gonna do, the next step is take those trends to the task force. Because what we're seeing some teachers that have had a lot of success using some things that we're not really sure what those are. And like Ray was saying, okay, do those fit in a grade band? Do those fit district-wide? Where can we use them? And also, we have, during our audit process throughout the year, we have an abundance of different things that we're using. And why are we using all of them? How do we streamline this so it's truly a K-3 initiative and a 4-5 initiative, however you want to look at it. And Ryan is constantly diving in there, providing feedback, whether it's DLT to some building BLTs. And now we're going to give the teachers access to this thing. Okay, now that Ryan's got it figured out, him and I have been working on this together, now turn it over to the teachers so they can see the data that's coming through, so they can see the different trends. And then really start building on what we want to use for our resources moving forward in the district. So those are a couple of the big educational things.
So we talked about curriculum, but a key piece in really accelerated learning and meeting our students' needs is assessments. I mean, you could have the best curriculum written, but until you assess if students are on grade level, do our assessments reflect grade level, and so on and so forth. So when you look at this piece, we're actually looking at our assessments, talk about doing an assessment audit. Remember in the beginning I talked about, teachers developing common assessments. I mean, we could have 3 sections of Algebra 1, but you gotta remember if I'm in Mrs. Smith's class, Mrs. Jones' class, Mrs. Reed's class, are the expectations there and are the assessments similar? And that's important. So what we're looking at is a big focus, and it's really important. Writing is extremely important for all of our students. And so I'm just going to show you real quick. And I think, Ray, is this one you, just an example a little bit with regards to an assessment cycle. And let me see if I can get it a little bit bigger there for you. So let me go to slideshow to make it bigger. Get rid of that. Would that do that?
You could just
Yep, you're good.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
It should get bigger.
Maybe
Yeah,
not.
okay.
No, just click out of that, you're good.
Click out of it?
Yep.
Okay,
There you go.
There we go.
Like Google.
Yeah, right. So in one of the, as we dove into ELA and we dove into complex text and we started talking about text-based first lesson planning, and I heard from almost every teacher, every building I went to, and almost every teacher was like, oh, what are we doing about writing? We're struggling with writing. So getting that feedback and really trying to make them understand that there is no writing without reading. And we really have to make that connection, because especially in our lower grades, we're doing a lot of writing on our own, like journaling, but there's got to be some reading attached to it, because that's how they develop that sense. So this right here is a draft that we're talking to buildings with, and the CNI task force we'll be talking to them with, and I put an email out to principals that are talking to teachers right now to be on this committee, and this committee is really looking at just writing. And we're really looking at doing some benchmarking with writing, because iReady does the reading and the math, but there really is nothing for writing. And when we transitioned to Common Core from the old way of doing things when I was in the classroom, we were writing short answers, we were writing, like little narratives, and now there are no short answers. It's really argumentative, opinion, and expository. So we really have to dive into that. So what we're going to create is, this is a scope and sequence of writing, of what we hope to move into. So at each quarter, each interim and quarter, there's benchmarking. And if you look, it'll say, hey, what are we supposed to be doing in kinder? a narrative for the first quarter, because that's where we really start. And then as you transition down, you'll see then more time spent on informational and expository, more time spent on argumentative. But hopefully we're gonna be creating some benchmarks, that team will be creating some benchmarks, not only on what we're gonna do, but what the rubric looks like. And come to a consensus of an exemplar, and what is a 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, because it goes by a score of 10. And really looking at what does exemplar in kindergarten look like? What is exemplars in third, and keep going on according to the ODE. So when our teachers are grading, they're all grading from the same eye. So that is the hope for this one, and I think we got a couple teachers already really jumped on them. They're really wanting to get this writing thing done. So I'm excited about it.
To even take that writing to the next step, we're even gonna pilot taking Adrian's writing student exemplar and having Sunview's teachers
Yeah.
grading it on the rubric. Because we love our students, right? And you get a little,
Yeah.
oh man, oh, he meant this, or he
Yeah.
did this, right?
Yeah.
So instead of doing
Yeah.
that and taking away that love that all teachers have, but giving them, taking it over.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so,
it is.
So I think you answered my question. So they're meeting, building groups.
So, yeah, there's gonna be representatives from each building on this committee, and then we're gonna figure out what we want that to look, what we want that to look like as as the district. Memorial right now is probably the ones we've been working with the most, because Memorial doesn't have a curriculum, so they're been really using novels and some themes, so we've been implementing some writing, and I was just in Miss Aletta's class, and she was showing me some samples of her students writing using some of these. It's amazing.
Isn't it amazing?
Oh my
She
gosh.
showed me last
Are you
week.
excited? I was so
Oh,
excited.
because my son is in her class, and it was so amazing
Yeah.
to me. But then even because, okay, so I'm sorry.
That's
guys.
okay.
So I'll add this with this piece. So she does all of this, and she has it all come in together, but
Yeah.
then the conversation
Yeah.
behind it, it's
Good.
like even listening to their vocabulary is expounding, their understanding and their comprehension when she's having these discussions with them as well. Oh my goodness,
Yeah.
it's amazing. So
We're trying to get
yes.
away from the nicks and the tricks to actually authentic writing. So she really, they're doing a social justice theme, so they took some novels and the kids got to choose. And so now their big question, they have these big questions, right? And they have to decide. I think one of the questions is, should there be juveniles in adult jails? or
Adult
something
jails,
like that?
adult prisons,
And
yes.
some of their responses, and they're citing this, and she showed me the other day, and I was like, oh my God, they can do it. Now, there's some
And she doesn't
grammars-
take short answers from them.
No, there's not.
Like my son literally
It's
typed
really
three
good.
things, 3
So
words.
imagine, high
And it was,
school,
oh.
if we're doing that consistently in junior high, then high school's not spinning their wheels trying to get them to
You
get
would
it back.
like
So.
this, Catherine. They would put you there for you.
So, and again, you can see now assessments, some of the things that we're talking about with assessments, what we mean is a lot more than that. They're not just tests, it's different ways to measure things. I think that number 5 is interesting, and I believe next month we're also gonna bring some folks to talk about scheduling. We've done a lot of work in this area. The purpose is, it is a collaborative process. Yes, we hired a consultant who's just really opened up our eyes with a lot of possibilities. Joe Nicholas, he's just done a really good job working with not just our principals, with our guidance counselors. And I think we're gonna give some time next month to show what they've done. And so I don't know if I know we have some scheduling meetings coming up, but Mr. Capo, is there anything that we want to share at this time, or should we wait till next month? Because I know we're almost
Yeah, we're
there.
close. The course description book's coming together, and that's why we're inviting the counselors in, because of their unbelievable work, the leadership that they've taken with it. This year, they've made it their own. Don't worry, Ms. Falkenberg, you're gonna get it before it comes on. I need your editing expertise on it. But, in the long course description book, and then comes the scheduling piece. And I said it before, and I'm really excited about it. Joe's taught us a ton of different ways to schedule and how to get certain things in that we never thought it was possible before. And also really looking deep down at our electives and what are our kids excited about, and at the same time, that loops into the direction we're going. So you're gonna see, and the facilitators at the high school and the content leaders have given us some different ideas that you're gonna see inside the course description book for some new electives, and really just starting to take it to the next process. You're gonna see a lot of different changes to some of the schedules that haven't been done before, and I don't wanna
Yeah, I
bust
know.
out everything,
It
but
is-
study halls and different things are,
It's exciting.
Going to the
What's exciting
wayside.
about, we're not just excited, it has
I'm
been
very-
truly a collaborative process. And I think that's the piece where, I mean, the job of our consultant, Joe, it was the fact was also building capacity of our administrative team, but also our guidance team. Our consultant has been a teacher, a guidance counselor, and also a building principal, so he saw the multiple roles. And so that's what we're really excited about. Everybody seems to be excited about the possibilities that the schedule is. So stay tuned on that for another work session. So we're not gonna talk about student supports today. We will get to that another time. We are gonna still offer a summer program, and again, we'll get into that as we get closer. I just wanted to kind of go over a few things here. We haven't forgot about our Encore. For those that don't know, I'm gonna talk about Encore. It's really electives. I'm not gonna talk about it today, but we are, working right now with our music program. Our other Encore programs are just as important, but we're really looking to focus on looking at the curriculum there. I will probably at a later date give another update. I will be meeting with music teachers in the next couple weeks again. We did survey parents about our music program, and I had 150 parents responded, K-12, to the survey. And I had about 105 students, grades 5 through, and so right now we're sifting through that information. But the reason I mentioned that, one of the things that came out loud and clear with the parents and the students, if we could offer a music elective, by far the biggest number one that they wanted was music technology, which was something, a little bit of just not just the performance music, but also everything from audio production to you name it. It was really and we actually had the facilities to do that. So, maybe I haven't spoken to the music department yet, but it really is something that could be an elective as a pilot, just to see how that goes. So, stay tuned on that. Let me go down here with regards to, we'll probably next time maybe have a focus, maybe it's in March, a little bit with regards to our social emotional things that we have done. Ms. Bussey has done a great job with working with our families. And then I just want to pop to the last thing here. Again, we'll revisit this. There's just so much here. This is on the website. It's not this evening. We'll be loading it back up tomorrow, but it is a working document. So if something changes, it means we refined it. One of the things we did look at is our early childhood. Many of these students, some of them that would have normally gone to a preschool didn't get a chance to because of COVID. So we don't have a universal preschool program in our school district. We do have a peer model program. But what we have is a lot of 5-year-olds that may have not had the formal preschool experience. So what we did was actually through our ESSER funds is hire 3 new kindergarten teachers, and we placed one in every one of our K-3 buildings. So what that did was it did reduce the class size, and I know there's research out there about class size and just different things, but I can tell you as a former teacher who taught kindergarten for 7 years, there's a big difference if you have 20 in a classroom, if you have maybe 14 at that age. It really does make a difference. And so what that can do is more time on task, more attention there. So, there was one thing that I wanted folks to know what we're trying to do with our early childhood program. I think the other piece I want to highlight is a work in progress is I'm very excited about 2.1 is our career connections and social emotional learning teachers. Remember right now, probably about maybe 60 to 70% of our students are being exposed to this, but the SEL way will be as soon as we, it's not going to be an elective. It is going to be something that every one of our students will experience in South Euclid Linders when they step foot into kindergarten through to high school, is really getting into preparing our students for 2 things. I mean, a career. We're not talking about college. Everybody wants a career. A career could be anything. And not just a job. And then also, what are those social emotional pieces that also support people that want that can be successful and maintain their careers and their jobs. So that is a work session all in itself that we'll probably do at the end of the year. Yeah. Anything? Did did you want to share something?
No, we'll talk about it at the end of the
Yeah,
meeting.
okay.
You're fine.
The only thing I want to draw attention to what this is, and again, in the spirit of transparency, you know, we actually, this is, when you use federal dollars and you get, there's a lot of oversight, and having done that for 7 to 8 years when I was in Garfield Heights, I'm happily passed that baton to Mr. Capo and teaching him the ropes, but really, it really, these are questions that are asked with how you're using the federal funds, and these are our responses that we have submitted and get approval. So we thought, since a big part of the RRR plan, if not a majority of it, is using federal dollars, we are sharing our own transparency with what we share with the state. So again, there's a lot here. I mean, I think I probably spent an hour on this. I could probably spend a couple more, but I'd like to continue to update the community and the Board of Education and our families and staff, you know, really what this document is. It is a living, breathing document that we live by, and it really helps guide our process. And actually, it's being shown off to other school districts as a model with regards to really how do you take, you know, federal dollars and making good use of it for our students and that. So again, we'll repost this, and stay tuned. We'll have more.
Erin's statement on the paper, she was saying, couldn't we turn the RR and a portion of financial into a board retreat possibly?
Oh, there's just a lot, yeah.
I only said that because we have not had one in 2 years due to COVID, and I think it would be,
There's a lot here.
yeah, there's a lot here. And I know it can go into a lot more detail, and I know we're cutting some things off and some things short, so I would ask for the board retreat just so we can have detailed information. And some things have come to Stephanie and I think this information here is the information that Stephanie and I need, so we can handle our.
Sure, I mean, there's a few things, that, you know, we could take this on to another way. First of all, is you know, like when we talked about ADNET, talking about it today was one thing, but what I started to think about is it's not probably a bad idea to actually really show how we log in, what that looks like, and I mean, we could keep drilling down here. I mean, I glossed over a lot of different things just for the sake of time.
Yeah.
But people need to know this is not just this year's plan. This is a multi-year plan that will build on each other, and we'll get better at some of these things. These are 3 new initiatives that we're gonna continue to, everybody get better at. So, you know, we certainly, team and I can talk about that, but we definitely have enough to talk about and show.
Yeah.
I will get out of this here. And again, you'll see it. You know where it'll be on our website is when you scroll down to the bottom, it's a placeholder. We have the COVID updates, registration, it's those big. So we decided we'll put it right there. And then also in the index, we'll probably put it under RRR for those that might look at it differently. So it's there, and we'll continue to update it. It was last even updated probably about 2 o'clock today. All right, there you go, Mr. Capo. So, thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. And then we can cycle back up to discussion item 2.1, House Bill 126 resolution. I don't know if you guys got a chance to look at House Bill 126 and the information. So this is an opportunity before it is sent over to the governor. Actually, I'm not sure if we even got to this point yet. There's so many things that I forget that we didn't get to. But with our legal counsel and in collaboration with OASBO and OSBA and Dr. Reed and Josh, sometimes we get opportunities to put together, what do you call it, resolutions and correspondence, in addition to the work that Dr. Reed is doing with the First Ring Superintendent's Collaborative. So House Bill 126 is an act to contact legislatures in the House and urge them not to concur with the Senate changes to House Bill 126. We had an opportunity to personalize our communications to the House representative, and just a few things to note for people wanting to know why we take opportunities to step forward with resolutions. Boards of education are locally elected officials who deserve the right to protect the interests of the community that we serve and ensure that all taxpayers are treated fairly. Our district has often uses the Board of Revision process in good faith, and that has to do with our tax collection rates for real estate, the manner in which we go for the money that is entitled to us, how it is utilized, and everything of that nature. So to have someone possibly come in and be able to change the manner in which that is done, we have an opportunity to speak up about that House bill. So all districts do rely on property taxes for the operation and support of the students in schools, and we should have the ability to advocate for accurate values on which those revenues are based. So we, with legal counsel, have had an opportunity to have Josh create the resolution for us. I won't read it into the record, but it is there, and we will be getting that signed off on and submitted. I believe your first ring also has a statement that they are.
Absolutely. One of the things I wanted to add to that, as a first ring collaborative of school districts, if people aren't familiar with that, it's actually taking 16 school districts, starting with Lakewood, going all around Cleveland, up until Euclid, and so we're included as a first ring school district. And we do work with the Cleveland Municipal School District as well in this. We have collectively, along with other Northeast Ohio school districts, have written a legislation to this bill because we really feel like it takes the right of a local school board with regards to, and potentially a loss of billions of dollars that goes to schools. So we have written in South Dakota Lyndhurst schools, we have signed off with my colleagues in opposition, sending it to our legislators with regards to this House Bill 126. So we're going to continue to do what we have to do to protect the interests of our local taxpayers, and this is an important one to pay attention to.
Perfect. May we get a motion to walk on the resolution opposing House Bill 126?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Lee and Ms. Falkenberg?
Mhm.
Any questions or comments?
Thank you for your due diligence, Josh, I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I
Karen?
appreciate that. I wanted to make
Go
a
ahead.
phone call, but I didn't feel like I was well enough informed as to the, some of the details of the bill, but I thank you for the work you did.
Just so folks know too, actually, as a first ring, we have an advocacy group which we actually look at not just this legislation, but other legislation we feel would be detrimental to public schools, and we work with lobbyists to hear the voice of what our needs are here in South Dakota Lyndhurst and in Northeast Ohio.
And just with that final comment, Mr. Hill, correct me if I'm wrong, that's almost 77%
Correct.
of our revenue for general property taxes, which is real estate, correct?
It's even more important for us because we're so dependent on the property taxes.
So just to clear that.
We don't get a lot of the
Question,
state
comment.
funding that other school districts get as well. I like, bring that into a lot of people's remembrance as well. We don't get a lot of the state funding that other school districts do receive. So a lot of what we're doing is based upon these general dollars, so, yes.
Absolutely. I think the biggest thing, I know President Jones mentioned the fact that, we've used the process in good faith in the past. The biggest thing is, this is not for us. Typically, we don't even contest residential property. When it comes down to it, it's not only protecting the values for the district, but it's also protecting the values for the community, because when we look at items like this, if you continue to have values that come in well below the neighboring values, it has a trickle-down effect, and slowly you see the values chipped away at, and it can affect more than just our revenue, for sure.
Hearing no further questions or comments, may we get a roll call, Mr. Hill?
Ms. Lee?
Aye.
Ms. Falkenberg?
Aye.
Mrs. Jones?
Aye.
Ms. King? Aye. Mrs. Ryan?
Aye.
Duly noted.
We do not have a need for executive session, so we don't have to do that. It is now 6:32. May we get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all for joining us. Have a good evening, and we will see you next month.